Hi, everybody. My name is Yi. As mentioned, I'm from the United States. You can probably tell from a Mac accent, not from around here. But yeah, really pleased to be here. I grew up in Silicon Valley, actually. Spent 25 years in the startup and fintech, e-commerce industry. I was one of the first 100 people at PayPal. And then over 25 years, founded 4 companies in the e-commerce and fintech spaces. 4 years ago, I switched over to working on climate. My eldest kid was a teenager then, and you start to have some pretty interesting conversations with teenagers. They say things like, hey, Baba, what should I do when I grow up, right? And I honestly could not give him a straight answer. At the time. I'm still working on formulating those kinds of thoughts with him, but definitely it's not going to be doing the kinds of stuff that we all grew up doing, right? Like my guidance to him is think about what is your future food chain, what is your future water supply going to look like? Your climate's definitely going to be different than what it is now, so you might not want to live where you grew up, right? So those kinds of thoughts spurred me to get into climate. But I am, after all, like a fintech and e-commerce guy, so I tend to work on things where I think people are going to either make a lot of money or move a lot of money around. The previous speaker you heard talk about these trillion-dollar estimates for where the carbon credits market is headed. This is going to happen. Like the trillion-dollar number has already come true. The compliance carbon markets today are already $1 trillion, and the voluntary carbon credit markets have not yet gotten plugged into it. But over the next 20 years, definitely will, and you'll see these kinds of numbers materialize. So if you want to chase these kinds of opportunities, if you want to create massive carbon sequestration and go after trillion-dollar markets, then you got to be efficient about thinking about where can you find scale. And all the world's climate scientists, soil scientists, carbon scientists tell us very clearly that reforestation is the single highest scale thing to carbon. And so there is a big disconnect, though, between this number, right, trying to go after gigatons, 200 gigatons of potential scale from reforestation versus these kinds of numbers. And these are accurate counts coming from registries of forestry projects that are coming to the forefront for carbon credits. There's on average over the last 15 years, there's only been 11 new afforestation projects registered per year. There's a whole bunch of conservation projects, which is great. We want to conserve the forests that we have, but there's almost nobody planting new forests. So what's up with this, right? Only 11 new projects, only 7 new developers coming online each year on average for the last 15 years. And that's the problem that Terraformation, my company, was founded to solve. We're trying to figure out how do we unlock the world's supply of new teams? How do we train more people to get into this space? How do we get more entrepreneurs to think of forestry as an entrepreneurial venture, as a thing that they can do to create livelihoods for themselves, for their local economies? And there's a number of roadblocks that are in their way, just a whole bunch of very sort of block and tackle pragmatic things that stand in the way of a new forestry team that's trying to get started. They need to secure seed financing. They need to figure out where do they get seedlings from. They need to run a nursery. They have to start their outplanting operations and train their teams, and they have to start to get their whole field, to get their plot of land ready for remote verification. They have to do all those things before they can start to sell carbon credits, right? So that's a lot of steps to go through, and Terraformation is trying to tackle those one by one. Over the last 4 years, we have built and developed this open source seed banking technology that can be deployed anywhere in the world. We're in 5 countries now, have collected over 54 million seeds, have the capacity for well over 100 million seeds developed on site in over 5 countries, and actually meaningfully increase the seed banking capacity of those nations. We've also built a training program that's trained almost 1,000 new foresters. There's this vocational skill to learn, right, about where to find the right trees to pick seeds from and how to seed bank them and how to run a nursery and germinate seedlings and help them survive until outplanting, right? So we've graduated now almost 1,000 new people, and this is a really huge inflection point. The planet today, by some estimates, has about 150,000 people trained in total. Right, out of 8 billion odd people, only 150,000 trained who you could successfully hand a restoration project to and say, hey, make a forest grow. right? So we're trying to go from 150,000 people to ideally tens of millions of people trained in the next decade, and programs like this are one way to get there. We've also launched 29 projects, so 29 teams, 29 new teams, right? We saw the stat earlier on of only 7 teams on average per year. We're trying to create this inflection point where a lot more teams come into industry. So we've launched 29 new teams covering about 10,000 acres, actually about 20,000 almost, and planted a million trees already with 20 million more to come. And we've deployed sort of software, technology that tracks all of a team's progress and helps them create a unified dashboard so they can show their investors, so they can show their stakeholders, here's how we're doing. That software is now in field with 199 different organizations in 49 different countries. We're systematically trying to pull together these pieces and then put them together in this program that we call the accelerator. You could think of our accelerator kind of like a startup accelerator. It's like YC, or it's like 500 startups, or it's Techstars, except instead of training software and tech companies, we're training forestry teams. We're training forestry teams to be entrepreneurs and to figure out how can they create business models and how can they launch their forestry business and be successful. In the first 4 years of offering this service, we've run 4 cohorts, and we've attracted over 670 applicants that collectively cover almost 7 million hectares of land. We've also secured a number of partnerships to help us scale. I'm just going to highlight a couple here. We're part of the AFR 100 group, which is a multilateral national level agreement of collaboration to reforest over 100 million hectares of land in Africa. And we're also partners with Restore, actually a Swiss company that offers geospatial and imaging data for free to forestry teams. So anybody can come in, draw a map polygon of where they are on the planet, and receive rainfall estimates and see satellite imagery that moves over time for their plot of land. Restore has been, our partnership with them helps teams from Restore apply directly for the Terraformation Accelerator. And there's a number of other strategic partnerships. This is definitely not an effort that you undertake alone. Our team of 120 people now has a number of doctoral level experts in botany and soil science and carbon science to come up with these training materials that help teams be successful. Collectively, we've run 30 projects for reforestation and carbon credits, and we're supported by a really star-studded cast of investors led by Sam Altman and Max Altman of YC and OpenAI fame. Now, this would not be a financing conference if I wasn't here making a pitch, and so I am. We're today in the process of closing our latest round of financing. It's a $46 million round. We've got $25 million already committed and wired in. And for anybody who'd like to follow accredited investors only, please, I'm happy to chat with you. So a couple things that I wanted to leave you with. If you took nothing else away from today's conversation, first, reforestation is the best and immediately scalable solution to climate change. If you wanted to do something today to start abating climate change, reforestation is the single biggest opportunity that we've got. Number two, there's a multiple billion-dollar investment opportunity in the projects themselves, right? Like I've just been talking about Terraformation Inc., the company, but in order to scale this, there's projects, thousands of projects that'll have to be created all around the world. Each and every one of those individually and collectively is a multi-billion-dollar investment opportunity. And I'm leading a workshop tomorrow at noon upstairs if you'd like to come and participate in that. Thank you. Really appreciate your time.